Howdy folks, Dr. Will Wong here. Let's talk about Lyme's. Lyme's is named after the little town in Connecticut where the disease first erupted. And that little town just happens to be across Long Island Sound from a place called Plum Island. Without getting too much into conspiracy theory, which always turns out to be true, you folks might go look up Plum Island and all the stuff that has supposedly come out of there, swum out of there, flown out of there, jumped out of there. It's supposed to be a USDA, an agricultural research facility. Well, they research things like anthrax, which is an agricultural disease. But it seems they also cook up man-made diseases. No one had ever seen Lyme's before. It erupted somewhere in the late 80s or early 90s. No one had ever contracted it. No one had ever come down with the symptomology of it. It was a brand new condition, and I can guarantee you that, as Dr. Abram Burr told me one time, most all the new diseases that are coming out are man-made diseases. Now, whether that tick just happened to float across Long Island Sound and wind up in the town of Lyme's is about the same question as, did the Ebola virus just happen to leave the Lytton Biomedical Facility just outside of Kampala, Uganda, when Uganda had the first Ebola outbreak? But we won't go there. Let's talk about getting rid of Lyme's. Most folks are told that Lyme's is not curable. They have to put up with it. Heck, in the early stages, docs thought it was a psychosomatic disease. Your brain is causing all these skin eruptions, all this pain. Your psyche is causing the facial paralysis, the heart palpitations, the severe headaches, the stiff necks, which, by the way, are indicative of encephalitis and meningitis. And then when they finally figured out it was a bacteria, they didn't apologize for initially telling folks it was all psychosomatic. They did what they usually do with bacteria, treated it with loads of antibiotics, and nothing happened. Because it was designed to be antibiotic resistant. Like Ebola, biological warfare agents aren't any good if you can cure them easily. But we won't go there either. Today, after the antibiotic treatment, medicine has nothing to offer for the continued presence of Lyme's in folks and for the continued suffering that people have, except for more antibiotics, maybe some cortisone, maybe some nonsteroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. In Europe, Lyme's patients with the radiculopathy, with the pain down the limbs, and with the lymphatic meningitis, get treated with an IV antibiotic for 30 days. In some folks, after the initial phase, the Lyme settles in their hearts, cardiac inflammation. So not being able to do anything about it, allopathic medicine throws their hands up in the air, says that all these folks who are still suffering from Lyme's after the initial bouts of antibiotics have post-Lyme disease syndrome, and they relegate them as being head cases the way that they used to do, and probably still do, with chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. Except a lot of docs are making a lot of money now off of fibromyalgia. So what can be done? Personally, I can tell you I haven't treated Lyme's. I don't know anything about treating Lyme's. And I usually don't render opinions or give treatment protocols for things that I haven't personally had to treat or haven't personally had myself. But what if I told you that Lyme's is completely curable? What if I told you that many folks have cured their Lyme's or gotten their Lyme's down to the point where they don't really feel that they still have it and they've gotten their life back? Well, the first person I know of who cured Lyme's in themselves is Dr. Sue Massey. She's a naturopath from New Jersey. Whenever anyone sends me a Lyme's question, I refer them to her. Yes, systemic enzymes can be used to treat Lyme's. It is part of treating Lyme's, a standard part of treating Lyme's, from what I understand. Yes, the systemic enzymes can help with the inflammation and with the fibrosis that chronic inflammation can cause. It can help with the clotted blood. It can help with a whole bunch of stuff in Lyme's. All of the functions of systemic enzymes, and if you're not familiar with all the actions of systemic enzymes, listen to my lecture, fighting the things most likely to kill us on YouTube, all of the functions of systemic enzymes are used against Lyme's. But it's not the only thing that gets applied. It is not the cure-all, as much as I'd love it to be. Now, I've had a few questions on Lyme's this week and in the last week, which is why this show got put together, because whenever I get a number of the same questions in a short period of time, God's trying to have me focus on something. So I'm focusing on spreading the word about curing Lyme's and sending you to www.drsuemassie.com, drsuemassie.com. She's in New Jersey, and her number is 732-933-4011. I say again, 732-933-4011. If you have Lyme's disease, if you know someone who has Lyme's disease, consult with Dr. Sue Massie. She cured herself of Lyme somewhere in the mid to late 1990s. She has treated Lyme's since then, and she has the greatest body of clinical experience in treating Lyme's and all of its variations of any doc anywhere. Most docs that I've heard about taking care of Lyme's have been ripping off their patients, and it angers me to no end, because they're doing to the Lyme's patients what they're doing to the fibromyalgia patients, seeing them as big wallets. But if you ever want to actually have some hope of getting rid of this stuff, or getting to the point where it isn't a major bother in your life anymore, call Dr. Sue Massie. And on that note, I wish you all God's blessings. Be well, and I'll chat with you again next time. Bye-bye.